Hello and welcome back to the Social Jar podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dan Wiseman, and I am joined by Mr. Andreas Georgiou for something of a milestone here on the Social Jar podcast. We're back with episode 20 of the show, and to celebrate this, we've got something of a special episode. But before we get into all that, I've got to introduce my good friend Andreas. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Dan. I'm doing good. They said we wouldn't even make one episode, and here we are at 20.
Crazy.
What a milestone to be here. We've gone through a number of changes along the way, from 3 to 2 to an extra episode here and there, to finally be here. Not in our final iteration, but definitely in a much better and much more entertaining place as the followers and subscribers of the Social Jar do tell me. So I take their word for it. I'm really glad that everybody has shown their support over 20 episodes. I mean, come on, that's amazing for any podcast to make it that long. I mean, I believe, Dan, is it a year yet, or close to a year of
getting there.
The Social Jar anniversary? So yeah, things are really good at the minute, and we're really excited to continue the show. And the only way to do that, of course, is with your support. So please follow us on our social media accounts at Uniform Brand, and follow me and Dan as well, and show the love for the Social Jar podcast, not only on social media, but on Patreon with our free Patreon account, which anybody can follow with absolutely zero cost. You get early access to the podcast, and very soon you can be getting some exclusive content as well once the forbidden set has been completed. But yeah, Dan, I'm so happy to be here, and I'm very excited for this week's episode, because this might be, Dan, one of the very few times where, well, we'll let the listeners in on a bit of a secret in terms of the Social Jar. What happens now, of course, is because we give the Patreon followers the opportunity to vote on the topic of the episode. I usually give Dan free rein and say, Dan, come up with 3 topics. Obviously, if I do get to approve them, and I do say, yeah, they sound good. But Dan comes up with 3 topics. We then give that to the Patreon followers. They vote. We do that episode. But this time I have given my own input into it, and I've said, no, Dan, this week we're not doing a vote. This week you're not deciding. This week I'm deciding, and because I'm deciding, we are going to do one of my all-time favorite activities, all-time favorite events, in accordance with this week's very, very special showing. It's, of course, the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah, very exciting, mate. Very exciting. I think, as you said, we're coming up to a year here on the Social Jar, and I think for the vast majority of those 365 days, you've been saying, when Eurovision comes around, we're doing an episode. And for the whole time I was like, how does he mean? Like, what are we gonna talk about? But whether you had some key insight, whether you're a bit of an insider there, mate, there's actually a whole lot of fun stuff going on social media. One platform in particular has come to dominate that arena. We're really excited for the event to get started this week. It starts, this will come out on early access on the Friday before, so it comes out either on the Friday or the Monday before Eurovision gets started on the Tuesday, and it's going to be running all the way through until the Saturday. So it's going to be a week of really fun stuff going on social, particularly on TikTok, and I think that's why we're here, mate, is because they've got a whole lot of good fun stuff going on that platform, and we're quite impressed by it.
We are indeed, Dan, but before we get to the technological social side, I'm going to answer the question that everybody's thinking right now. Nula's already asked me in the office, do I actually like Eurovision? Is the question. I mean, we often talk about sports and, I don't know, social and kind of things that you would generally consider, male or menly kind of topics. Eurovision, on the other hand, it's more pageantry, it's more musical, it's more art. You might think, Andreas, that doesn't look like something you would enjoy. But nay, I have been an avid fan of the Eurovision Song Contest since the first time I watched it in the year 2001 with my younger brother Lucas.
Wow.
And we have been big fans ever since. We generally always watch it. Sometimes together now, we've grown up, but for the most part, I will always make sure I'm in front of the sofa to watch the Eurovision Song Contest. And I'd like to say that I'm pretty certain I've watched every year since 2001. Wow. So, yes, the secret's out. Andreas is a big Eurovision fan. Who'd have thought it?
Mate, you are nothing if not a surprise. Yeah, I think we represent both sides of that scale because this may well be my maiden voyage into the Eurovision Song Contest. It's not something I've dabbled with too much previously. I completely understand the hype. I get why everybody loves it. It's just not something that I've managed to really sit down and watch before. I enjoy the sort of music comes out of it and everything like that. But yeah, maybe this will be my first time with. So I think we represent both sides of the listeners because I feel like people that are into Eurovision are. You don't really get people that are like, yeah, I tune in and out. You either get people that don't watch Eurovision or you get people that watch Eurovision. And so I think we represent both sides of that scale quite nicely, mate. Are you looking forward to this year's competition then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be in Turin, I believe, after...
Yep.
Oh, God, how do we pronounce it, Dan? Is it Manskin, Mainskin? I still don't know how we actually pronounce it.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd cross this bridge for me because that's a difficult one.
We'll call them Mainskin or Menskin, however it's supposed to be pronounced. They won obviously last year at the Eurovision Song Contest. We're here in Italy this year. For those of you who don't know, the winning act, the next year's competition is then held in their country. So we are in Turin, we're in Italy, after Menskin's popularity and victory at the Eurovision Song Contest. And I believe we'll be talking about them a little later in the show because over the last few years, Dan, we have seen the evolution of many different events and many different brands utilizing one platform in particular and using that to reach a different audience, to engage with an audience in a way that's never been done before. We saw this with Euro 2022, 2021,
whatever it was
called. We've seen this with other major events.
Yep.
And now the Eurovision Song Contest is joining that list. And the platform, of course, Dan, that we're talking about is TikTok.
Yeah, mate, the one and only. I think, the Eurovision Song Contest, the 66th in its history. The semi-final shows and the grand final itself will be live streamed via the Eurovision TikTok account in a new vertical format designed specifically for smartphones. I'm very excited to see exactly what that looks like. You're very right in saying that obviously the platform had some really cool stuff going on in the Euros, which we actually covered on the social jar sort of about 10 months ago. Quite a bit of time, but it was really cool to see how the platform managed to integrate all that cool footballing content onto the platform. They've really been moving ahead in that sporting sphere as well recently. We should just probably touch on that before we get into this. They recently showcased the first football match from an elite European league on the platform. They signed a little deal with La Liga to show Real Betis versus Real Sociedad live on the platform, which is quite a cool moment. And it's also the title sponsor of the Women's Six Nations. So whilst it's really moving ahead in the sporting sphere, this sort of feels like a homage to its roots, doesn't it? Its roots were in musically and in dance and music. It still is at the heart of TikTok, but it was very much what built the foundations for the platform. So it's a nice little nod to its past, I think, mate, this tie with Eurovision. And it's fair to say that the songs had quite a legacy on the platform, one that I didn't perhaps realise just how many of the platform's most popular songs and indeed most popular accounts and content creators have their feet also in the Eurovision Song Contest, which I didn't quite realise just how much of a legacy that Eurovision has had on TikTok. And I think this is quite a nice nod back to its roots in musically with ByteDance and everything like that way back when. So I think it's quite cool in how, despite the fact that they're moving ahead in the sporting sphere, that they're still going back and covering the Eurovision Song Contest in such a cool way.
Well, Dan, I mean, I started humming and singing some songs to you in the office the other day, and I was like, that's a Eurovision song. And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realise that.
Didn't know.
You know, there's a lot of really popular tracks, you know, Duncan Lawrence Arcade, which is used all the time on TikTok for these emotional kind of edits. You know, that's just one example. I mean, we could probably sit here all day. We've got a bit of a list here. You know, we've got... Thinking About Things, which was the Icelandic entry on the now infamous Eurovision Song Contest, which didn't happen due to COVID. They were the favourites to win that and unfortunately never went ahead. But their song went viral on the platform throughout the summer. They were known, the band, for having, you know, their faces sewn in onto jumpers, and that actually translated over to TikTok with people joining in, doing their really fun dance that they had choreographed in their song. Not Your Toy, the Israeli entry from the previous year, again another really popular song. And we could go on and on and on, Dan, because even songs from the days of future past in Eurovision, like Alexander Rybak's Fairy Tale, have resurfaced and become popular tracks. I mean, I must see at least once every few weeks a football account that uses the Fairy Tale remix, which is obviously, for most of you who may not know, the violin track. And as soon as I say the violin track, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you're a TikTok user. Obviously, the TikTok edited version is the violin going into a kind of violin deep sound version, which sounds very cool. But yeah, it's really, really integrated into TikTok. You know, we know that TikTok's roots are as musically. It's all about music. Some of its biggest creators, like Charlie D'Amelio, are all about dances and choreography. And really, it makes sense that there's this connection with Eurovision when you have these kind of really popular songs that now are transcending beyond Europe and into the world of pop culture.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. TikTok users have racked up an incredible 3.7 billion views on hashtag Eurovision videos to date, with 1.4 billion video views on the hashtag Eurovision 2021 alone. So that's just, you know, a little insight into the vast scale of interest that exists surrounding this competition on the platform. But I think the question that everybody wants to know here in the UK when we get close to Eurovision is, how are we going to get on? Because even someone like myself, who doesn't necessarily have the, you know, the most storied history with watching the competition, I know how badly we often perform at this competition. But this year, mate, there is a beacon of hope. There is a ray of light. God. It may well be. This year, I think we can finally start to get a little bit carried away. Because Sam Ryder, our entrant from here in the United Kingdom, his track Spaceman is another one of those well-known viral TikTok songs. He himself is something of a viral creator on the platform. He has 12 million followers, which makes him one of the UK's most popular artists. He's been picked up by Justin Bieber and the like, and endorsed by those kind of guys on the platform. So could we, mate? Could we finally, not even necessarily have a winner? I'm not talking about that. Just someone that scores a few points, right? This finally, yeah, he seems really good. I've checked out his song. It's really nice. This guy's quite exciting, and it's great to see that he himself has a storied history on the platform.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. I mean, first of all, Spaceman, I really actually like the track, and the live version that he performed at the BBC when it was announced, it was fantastic. And let's not forget, Eurovision is about the live performance. It doesn't matter what the radio sound produced music sounds like, because that is not what's being judged on the night. It's the live performance. It's not just about the singing. It's about, as I said at the beginning of the show, the art, the pageantry, the whole package. And I think that Spaceman can really provide that. Sam Ryder, my first time seeing him on TikTok, I believe it might be a year ago now, but on my For You page, scrolling, all of a sudden you have this really unassuming, long blonde-haired man with a very kind of, I don't want to say crusty beard, because that's not really fair to say, but this very, very curly beard. Very curly beard. Sorry, Sam. This curly beard.
Oh, dear.
Belting out Defying Gravity from Wicked, the musical. And I was absolutely in awe. I was like, oh my God, how is he hitting those notes? Because he was nailing it, absolutely nailing it. And that was the first time I came across Sam. So when it was announced that he was our entrant, I was like, wait a minute, I know this guy. And obviously Sam, as we've mentioned, is a popular TikToker, which kind of brings into what we're trying to discuss in the show, the connection between TikTok and Eurovision and how that has really grown over the last few years. But Dan, to answer your question, do I think we've got a shot? Can it come home? Can the United Kingdom finally win a Eurovision Song Contest for the first time since
Drum roll.
Katrina and the Waves? And the answer is no. Definitely not. We will not be
Cancel
winning.
it. Cancel it.
Cancel the parties.
Yeah,
We've
sack
got to
it
wait
off.
till the Jubilee until the next big celebration. But unfortunately, there's just too much politics involved in Eurovision.
Yes.
Even though now there is a split between the jury voting and the televoting, I just don't see any way that the UK can win. But I do really hope that Sam gets a commendable place. He finishes on the left side of the board because fans of the UK and Eurovision. We've come to the bottom far too often. So definitely. I don't see us winning, but I really do hope that the UK puts on a strong showing. But yeah, it just goes to show, doesn't it, Dan, that the TikTok roots are very, very strong in the Eurovision currently.
100%, 100%. And for Sam himself, he's someone that managed to use the COVID-19 pandemic to his benefit. He started posting his covers on the platform in the first lockdown from his garden shed. He would upload to TikTok, and it's incredible that he went from there. And by the end of the same year in 2020, he was the UK's most followed artist on the platform. He then got a record deal in 2021 before releasing his debut EP that year. So it's incredible to see just how important the platform has been to his personal rise. So I think it's quite nice for him that he's come around in his first Eurovision Song Contest. TikTok is there, and he'll have the support of all of his followers, because this connection between the two isn't something that's come out of the blue. Eurovision has tried to embrace and evolve with technology for some time now. As you say, mate, the voting system was originally decided strictly by the judges in attendance. This then evolved to sort of telephone voting, as we see with other sort of performance shows like X Factor and Britain's Got Talent and stuff like that. And then this was moved to sort of digital and app voting, which we're starting to see. So they're trying to embrace that sort of ability to get the fans involved, and they have such a passionate following there at Eurovision. So it only makes sense that embracing TikTok is that sort of next evolution. And it's not just the song contest itself that have been sort of embracing the platform. We saw Australia hold a TikTok wildcard competition to select the wild card for their own national finals. The winner, Erica Padilla, now has 1.2 million followers after she was successful with that TikTok vote. So it's incredible to see that how slowly over a number of years this has sort of been building up and culminating in this sort of official deal where TikTok is now the official title sponsor of the song contest. We're going to get a load of cool content on the platform. I'm really excited to see just how it all lays out. We saw with the Euros, that when you sort of went onto the search function and searched for Euro 20, it was almost like an entire another app within itself, wasn't it, mate? All the different videos popped up, all the different songs. You could interact. You could watch highlights from the different matches on the platform. You could see the footballers and the content that they were posting at the same time. It was pretty incredible. So I'm really excited to see what TikTok managed to unravel as the competition gets underway.
Yeah, and I think we'll be seeing the exact same with Eurovision. They've revealed in their press release that there will be behind-the-scenes content. There'll be exclusive content as well. So really, sky's the limit. In the same way, the content that was so fantastic for the Euros in the world of football, I think it's going to be the same with Eurovision. And it just really goes to say, I think that TikTok and Eurovision is a better fit than TikTok and sport and TikTok and Euros, because one thing about sport is that it's more about the atmosphere. It's more about the experience. Like, during the Euros, we're all in the pub or we're at our friend's house watching the game. We're not watching that on the phone. Now, you have to remember, like, Eurovision Song Contest is mainly for a television audience. Yes, it's in an arena and they sell 20,000 tickets, but beyond that, it's broadcasted across Europe by the EBU, and it's this big thing. So it's about the user experience. It's about the viewing experience, and that's why this connection is so important. And then when you actually look at, like you said, Dan, the music roots for TikTok, and we only have to look over the last few years, like the superstars that TikTok has made, the influence that TikTok has in the top charts now, in the top tracks. It's undeniable. So when you actually look at Måneskin, for example, a few years ago, Dan, if you won Eurovision, yeah, cool. You won Eurovision. You weren't necessarily going to be super popular, though. You might become popular in your country. You might get a nice hit single in your country and a few other close by nations, but beyond that, not really. Manskin is probably the best example of a band succeeding in Eurovision and then using the power of social media like TikTok to amplify their following, amplify their popularity. And, we're seeing Manskin are going to Reading Festival and Leeds Festival, and, they're doing all these big tours. I think they appeared in America as well recently too. So, that goes to show the influence that TikTok has on the musical world. And now that Eurovision is trying to integrate into that, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the difference, isn't it, between what they did for the Euros last year, if we sort of take that as the biggest comparison. That felt novel. It felt interesting. It was like, okay, here's something we've never seen before. How are they going to do this? And they pulled it off really well. But that's the difference, isn't it? Is that this doesn't feel like that. This feels completely natural. It feels like it completely makes sense. And yeah, you're absolutely right in saying that sort of connection and the natural bond between the two platforms and the music that it produces has led to large-scale success for these kind of bands like Maneskin, who have made genuine inroads into the sort of US top 100. The biggest song is Beggin', and that's something that we've seen on TikTok for a long time. That's one of the songs that normally with these kind of trends on TikTok and these sounds, they come and go, they sort of on your feed, they pop up for a couple of weeks and then they go away. But these, especially these ones that have come out of Eurovision, are long-term trends, aren't they?
Well, do you want to know what's funny about Beggin', Dan? Is that even though that might be Maneskin's most popular song, that's something that they recorded long before Eurovision. It's actually when they were on the Italian version of X Factor is one of the songs that they sung on there. So it goes to show like really how music can come back around again with apps like TikTok. We see it every day. I mean, ABBA, hugely popular on TikTok, music that's been reintroduced, and old discography of musicians coming back to be popular again thanks to the app's influence. And that's one thing that cannot be understated about TikTok is that, oh God, I mean, you might as well say it, TikTok controls the music industry right now. In my humble
100%.
opinion, I really think it does. And it makes sense if you are in music competition to use the app to your advantage and to use it as a marketing tool. So it's going to be really interesting to see how something, Dan, especially which we're all used to watching in nice widescreen format, how is that going to look when we watch that vertically on TikTok? It's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's again perhaps a better fit than something like sport, as you say, mate, because I've watched football in vertical formats on TikTok. I did watch that Real Betis, Real Sociedad game on TikTok, and it's cool, but you'd be hard-pressed to watch a full 90 on there, whereas like this sort of vertical format, I think it works better for a stage show and stuff like that. So I think it will be a more engaging watch than say sporting events and stuff like that. But yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. TikTok definitely does control the music industry. We've seen even guys, Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac, their song Dreams experienced a huge boost. Stevie Nicks said the popularity that their song has on the platform has blown her mind. We had that incredible video of Nathan Apodaca. Just remember him, he was skating and just sipping ocean spray, and he had Fleetwood Mac playing in the background, and the song experienced such a boost that Mick Fleetwood actually, because of all the extra revenue that Fleetwood Mac were generating based on his use of that song and people rediscovering the track and everything like that, he bought Nathan Apodaca a car, which I thought was really cool. The Beatles, this is something we covered on European social, Uniform Social, we covered that the Beatles now have an official account on the TikTok. Their songs are officially licensed tracks that you can go and use. So as you say, mate, these real established bands just are wanting a piece of this pie, and I think it's really great that these guys from Eurovision, these guys who built the platform in many ways and made some of the platform's most successful songs and tracks so prominent, are managed to still hold their own, and I think that's really cool. And I think it'd be even more interesting, I'm going to really have an eye on it this time, as to which songs come out of this year's contest, and hopefully, guys like Sam Ryder and particularly here in the UK, Being Selfish, can benefit from that.
Absolutely, and I think as well, Dan, one of the things that's really been underestimated, like people like myself who've been avid watchers of Eurovision for many years, proudly stated, we'll say that for many years, Eurovision has been in a Euro bubble. It has been something that literally a very small but dedicated and vocal community have watched. Thanks to apps like TikTok, thanks to the popularity of those apps and giving more exposure to Eurovision's gone global. Eurovision is a world-renowned musical festival. Like you said earlier, Dan, Australia now. They're not in Europe. Don't worry, your geography does not deceive you. But
Yes,
they
I
are
should have
special
prefaced that,
guests.
yeah.
Yeah, they are special guests of the Eurovision Song Contest. And not only that, Dan, but there's now an American Song Contest where contestants from every single state compete to be crowned the American Song Contest winner. And the format is very, very different to what we're used to seeing. It's more of an X Factor, Britain's Got Talent style show with voting. But one of the interesting things there, Dan, is people can vote for their favourite act through, you guessed it, TikTok. So the reach that TikTok has to grow Eurovision cannot be understated. And maybe we have to also say thank you to Will Ferrell for that Netflix film
Yes.
yes. a few years ago, which I actually found to be quite entertaining as well. So yeah, it's out of the bubble, Dan. Eurovision is truly a global thing now, and TikTok and that viral rise is definitely a big part of that.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that we've covered all bases there. Very nicely, mate. I think it's very interesting to see just how excited you are for the competition to get started. I'm learning with the listeners of the Social Jar, man. Like, I didn't realize. I knew you were a fan, and I think the last year of you constantly saying, we're going to do this episode, we're going to do Eurovision, I was sort of thinking, like, okay, but why? It all made sense. You're such a huge fan. There's a lot of cool stuff going on the platform. So yeah, for me personally, saying to you, my friend, I'm very excited that it's come back around. I share your excitement. I get it. I mean, I'm all in. I'll be on TikTok later this week. Yeah, check out all the cool content.
I'll be making sure you're watching, Dan.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll spreading my Eurovision love. I'm doing my part as a Eurovision fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. It should be super excited. Like I can't wait to see how they do with TikTok. And yeah, I think it's, again, very interesting just to see how the two have really helped the platform and the contest grow exponentially over the last few years.
Yeah, so you guys, the listeners of the Social Jar, no prizes for guessing who's going to be on the Orcs here in the uniform office this week. It's going to be it's going to be a really fun competition. We're glad to have given you the heads up because it's something that we're super excited about, and you should be too. So make sure you check out the Eurovision official account where you're going to be able to watch the semi-finals and the grand final live on the platform. And make sure you check out our accounts as well, because we're going to be giving this some pretty cool coverage. We're going to be sharing our favourite moments. So make sure you're following at Uniform Brand on socials, and make sure you head over to the free Patreon account as well. Subscribe wherever you're listening. Make sure you go out and check it out. It's completely free. There's loads of cool content going on there, and we promise to give you guys the vote back as well. Andreas stole it this week, but I think you'll begrudge him that because this was a really fun episode. We really enjoy it. Make sure you stick around, like, comment, let us your thoughts. Drop me and Andreas a tweet or a message. Let us know what you thought of the podcast. We're always really excited to hear from our listeners, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.